welcome to the Van Cleef Arpels Emergent Designer Prize 2021 in collaboration with Tashkeel and supported by the wonderful Van Cleef Arpels. My name is Ball-Lechgar. I'm the Deputy Director of Tashkeel, and I'm joined here this evening by a previous winner of the Van Cleef Arpels Prize and also by my colleague Salim Ahmed from Tashkeel. Today is all about giving you the inside track on how to apply for this year's Van Cleef Arpels Middle East Emergent Designer Prize. So we're going to first give you a little bit of information about the prize, a little bit of background. It has been going for 8 years after all. And then we're going to turn to someone who's lived it, breathed it, and won it. The winner's journey with Ranim Orouk. After Ranim's finished inspiring you, we'll give you some insight, some do's and don'ts about how to apply and what the 2021 theme is. And then at the end, if there's any questions you've got, any concerns, any comments, we'd love to hear from them. Also pop them on the chat facility on Zoom, and we'll try to address them at the end of the talk. Okay, so without further ado, let's proceed. This broadcast is going to be recorded for YouTube. So if you're not watching it live, you will be watching it on YouTube, so welcome. Van Cleef Arpels, it's a household name. It's a brand that encircles the world. Over the last more than 120 years, it has become a worldwide reference for unique design. Born in Paris and now very much present in the Middle East, the Van Cleef Arpels Emergent Middle East Designer Prize has its home at Les Salons in Dubai Opera, the Van Cleef Arpels flagship boutique here in Dubai. That's where we display the winning prize for about 3 months every year. But Van Cleef Arpels is not the only partner in the prize. It is Tashkeel who works with you, the applicants, through the application process. It's Tashkeel who works with Van Cleef Arpels to select the winner. And it's very much Tashkeel, specifically my colleague Salim Ahmed, who holds your hand as you produce the actual work over a 10-week production period. If you don't know about Tashkeel, shame on you. But if you're in the UAE, please come and visit us. Our headquarters is located in the beautiful district of Nad Al Shibba in Dubai. And we are here to support artists and designers living and working in the UAE. But especially for the Van Cleef Arpels Prize, we are here to support all applicants from across the GCC to apply for this very, very special prize that embraces the whole region. So what is the prize? It was established in 2013 and it seeks to nurture emerging design talent across Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, and back for 2021, Qatar. It's about creating global awareness for the region's very best designers. Now, a lot of people ask us, do I have to be a professional product designer to apply for the Van Cleef Arpels Prize? The answer is no, you don't. We have received applications for incredibly talented creatives, artists, visual artists, working in all kinds of medium. It is the quality of the proposal and your ability to produce that we are interested in. We know today that 21st century creatives cannot be put in a box. You are just not beholden to one category. You can be both a designer, a graphic designer, a product designer, a fashion designer, and a visual artist all in one. So we are not strict on who you are, on what you do. We are looking at your potential, your future potential. Remember that. The aim of the prize is to select a winner who will go on to produce what they propose. And that proposal must be a functional product that embodies a particular theme. We'll talk about this year's theme later on in the broadcast. That product and that theme can be interpreted through materials, forms, functions, and techniques. We're looking for innovative use of those 4 areas. We'll be talking about the criteria shortly. For those of you who've joined us recently, please add your comments to the chat or just take a note, write down your questions, and we'll answer them at the end of the session. Now, we receive over 60 applicants every year from across the GCC who compete to win the Van Cleef & Arpels Middle East Emergent Designer Prize every year. And last year, I have to say, Bahrain was amazing. We got so many submissions from Bahrain, several submissions from the Saudi Arabia, a couple from Kuwait, which we were delighted to see, and a couple from Oman as well. But we were really amazed by the submissions that we received from Bahrain. So let's see what country wins this year. Entries are carefully assessed. And when I mean carefully assessed, I mean, we go through every word you write, every dimension you give, every rendering and image you present. We spend a very long time assessing each document, each proposal. And it's not just me and Salim who look at these proposals. It's the Van Cleef & Arpels team here in Dubai themselves. They look after it's a Middle East team, in fact. And it's also 2 independent judges that work in the industry. They're usually highly acclaimed design professionals, and they cast a very objective, very independent eye over the shortlist of submissions. So it's very carefully and fairly judged. Now, what are we all looking for? We are looking for the following criteria: a very imaginative interpretation of that year's theme. We're looking for originality and inventiveness. Don't try and copy. We know an original design when we see one. We know when it comes from your mind, but we also know when it's been copied. We're looking for a strength of design concept, a strength of functionality. If you're going to propose a chair, make sure the chair's going to work. And materials, techniques, and production approach. All of that combined gives you an overall score. And that's what we move forward with in assessing each document, each proposal. Okay. Now, if you win, and we surely hope you do, you can walk away with a 30,000 dirham commission to produce that proposed work and have it displayed at Les Salons Van Cleef & Arpels in Dubai Opera for 3 months. And the clients, the customers, I shouldn't say customers, clients that walk through Van Cleef & Arpels in Dubai Opera are absolutely, stunning individuals, and they are influencers as well. So you're reaching a very niche, very high-end audience with your work and your name. Not only that, you will receive an all expenses paid 1-week trip to Van Cleef & Arpels in Paris. You will get to enjoy the beautiful city of Paris. Not only that, you'll also attend classes at L'École Van Cleef & Arpels in the historical home of the brand at Place Vendôme in Paris. So a wonderful prize. Now, who's won that prize in the past? That's what we want to know. Here is a few images of previous winners. So every year there's a theme. The very first theme was metamorphosis, and that was won by Salim Al-Mansouri of the UAE, who went on to study at New York University in New York, and now has a phenomenal career crossing technology and industrial design right here in the UAE. The following year, Turning Point was the theme, and it was won by Vikram Devesha. Vikram Devesha has gone on to present his work at the Venice Biennial. He went on to study for an MFA at Columbia University in the States, and he became one of the few Whitney residents in the States as well. He's recently moved back to the UAE, and I'm delighted that he's returned to his home at Tashkeel. In 2015, it was an undefined, it was an open theme, And Ivan Parati won it with his amazing tile table. Ivan Parati is one of the editors of Compass Middle East, a leading design magazine. And he also teaches at Ajman University in the Northern Emirates. And we'll be hearing from our 2016 winner, who beautifully embodied the theme of nature, Ranim Orouk with Glow. She'll be talking about it just after a few more slides, so we look forward to welcoming her. And then in 2017, under the theme of growth, Hamza Omari created a beautiful modular piece of furniture that basically grows with you from almost from cradle to grave, I have to say. But it's a beautiful piece that was very much welcomed by the judges. Now, moving into 2019, this piece is actually made only of paper. A beautiful piece that some of you, if you're in Saudi Arabia, might have seen at Jeddah Arts in 2020. But Julia Abini, you can hear her own words just talking about the Symbio vessels in this short video.
So I've been looking at ways to expand my practice, and I saw the brief with Tashkeel to do with the theme of cyclical and the idea of evolution. I work a lot with code, with computer software, and so it became about parametric curves to move these forms around this circle. And they were layered up. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of layers of these to make the final vessel form. I think it's hugely important to support emerging designers in the Middle East. It's been a real kind of game changer for me career-wise. And our talent deserves the exposure worldwide. So it would be lovely to see many more opportunities such as this one. Really looking forward to going to L'École Van Cleef Arpels in Paris. I think it will be a really special week to kind of learn a great deal.
Wonderful. So that's Julia, the British Jordanian artist and designer based in Abu Dhabi, who won the 2019 prize. And then moving forward to the most recent winner is Izad Muzaffar Alam. If you've passed by Les Salons Dubai Opera over the last few months, you may have caught his beautiful piece, Fragments of a Desert Garden, outside. He responded to the theme of flora. Let's hear from him now.
As an architect, every project I work on is a learning experience. Most of my creative energy is spent designing spaces that enhance user experiences. Entering this competition allowed me to carve out time and design at a micro level. While designing, I drew upon my architecture background to seek inspiration from the traditional Arabic motifs that are based on the rhythmic aesthetics found in nature to address this year's theme, which was flora. I'm looking forward to visiting the L'École Van Cleef and Arpels in Paris. Provide the vital opportunity to young creatives to express their freedom to create and contribute to this growing dialogue of what makes good design.
All right, so that takes us up to 2021. But let's look back at and listen to one of the past winners. Ranim Orok, you're here. Welcome. Thank you so much for sharing your memories of the Van Cleef & Arpels Prize with us. So I'm going to stop sharing my slide now. And if you can take over and pop your...
Sure. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. Sorry, I have... Okay. So I would like to thank everyone who joined today and whoever is interested in learning more about the competition and about my winning piece. There might be some of you guys who already know me, but for those who don't, my name is Ranim and I'm originally from Syria, but I grew up in Dubai. I'm an architect and I work as a full-time architect. But whenever I have some free time, I try to spend it designing products, just like the piece that you see here, or to create some artworks, specifically sculptures. So I will talk more about the winning piece, which was Glow. So for the 4th edition of the competition, the theme was nature. And for that, I spent quite a lot of time contemplating nature and a lot of elements around me, looking for something that would not only inspire the product that I'm designing, but also inspire its function, until I came across the jellyfish. So as you saw before, the design of the piece was inspired by the jellyfish as well as its function. So it lights up the same way the jellyfish light up when they swim deep in the sea. And I depicted it in 5 pieces, or let's say 5 jellyfish, to mimic the way they swim in groups. Usually they don't swim alone. So that's how the piece corresponds to the theme of nature. And now I will talk more about the process, starting from concept and the submission process. Then I will talk more about the production process, and finally about the experience and the award and the trip to Paris. So this was the final piece. And so the idea behind it was also that it has a dual function. So it can either be used as a chandelier hung from the ceiling or as a floor lamp. So starting from the concept and submission, it was divided to 3 phases. The first phase, or the first stage, was basically the entry submission, which was the early submission. Later on, after the shortlisting, I got to do a first presentation to the jury, which had Van Cleef members as well as some Tashkeel members. Later on, after maybe around a month, we had a second presentation, and after that, the winner was announced. So I'm gonna walk you through the submissions that I actually submitted. So for the first submission, which was the entry, this is exactly what I submitted, the 2 sheets, and it was very generic idea, and I had the concept of creating a chandelier that is inspired by the jellyfish, and as well as some materiality and some production methods. But something just to keep it clear, I think for this year's competition, it has to be, the submission has to be almost 90% developed, as I understood. But for the 4th edition, which was in 2016, you didn't really have to develop the whole product before you submit. So that's why my early submission shows a very general idea of it. And in stage 2, so this is what this submission was, or presentation was after the shortlist. There were around, I think, 5 people shortlisted. So you can see I started having a better idea, better understanding of the piece that I'm designing. So I started doing more sketches, some more sketches, and you can see that I started thinking of the functionality and how it can be either hung from the ceiling or as a floor lamp. And then I also developed the 3D model more. So you can see the jellyfish has a more pronounced form now, and created some realistic renders, more renders. Here it's showing how it can be installed. At that presentation also, I started thinking about the installation method, as well as the materiality and the production. So I started proposing that this could be 3D printed, started showing some material references and look and feel. And then I prepared some process models. So this was a small 3D print. It was maybe around, like, you can see my hand for scale in the picture to the left. So these were just to test out the form and see if it's structured, if it works. And that's I think this is very important part of the process, because whatever you design on the computer, you can't really tell if it's structural. Even if you think it is, there might be something that you're missing. So I feel like you have to, maquettes or models, process models are a very important part of the process. So from there, we moved to stage 3, which was the final presentation before they announced the winner. The 3D model got developed more and more. You can see I started having, I was starting to think about the structure. You can see the steel element, holding the jellyfish, and where the cords will go, electrical connections. And these also more process sketches and the thinking behind the manufacturing process. And at the end, these were the final renders to match the material that I chose. And now I will move to behind the scenes. So this is the production stuff that usually people don't see. People usually just see the final outcome, which is a pretty object, and they forget about what's happening behind the curtains. So of course, I had to prepare all the technical drawings for the structure. I had to think of every single screw and where it's going, every single detail. And you have to make sure that these things work, because if it doesn't work, then you have to repeat and manufacture the whole thing again. So this was a little bit tough. And of course, the jellyfish itself, the manufacturing, as I mentioned before, it was 3D printed. So working on creating a 3D model that is super clean is very important to get a 3D print, because if there is any error in the file, you can't really 3D print it and you don't have a model basically. So that was very, very tough. And this is also installation drawing. So it had to also think of how it's going to be installed in the exhibition stand. So these are other things that you have to keep in mind when you're designing, how it's going to be displayed, how is there anything to hold it in place. Some pictures from the site. This was the night before the exhibition. And of course, even after thinking about the installation stuff and preparing all the required drawings, there was still some errors when it came to site. So this is something that you should think about very well and make sure that you get all the drawings right and no technical issues. And this was the final outcome. This was in Design Days tent in downtown. And now I will talk about the experience, which is the trip to Paris. This was the most exciting part of the whole thing. So this was my first day at l'école. I was super excited, dressed in a very French way. And then this was the space inside the school. And then we had multiple classes. So this was one of the classes. It was basically 5 days worth of courses, and every day you have one course that's different. So this was about drawing jewelry and like gemstones and diamonds using watercolor. This was one of the classrooms. More classrooms. This is where we had the lecture courses. You can see the interior is very French. It was a very nice experience, honestly. Here, more classes. So here, the one to the left was about creating Japanese jewelry. The one to the right was about creating actual pieces using the tools. More of the classroom. And then we went actually to we had a field trip. We went to visit the Cleef Arpels boutique in, I forgot the name of the place. Anyway, so this was the interior of it. We looked at the pieces they had. We looked at unique pieces that are kind of like, that go back to like maybe more than 30, 40, 50 years ago. And this was again more of the place. And this was on my last day at l'école with the instructors. And that's it. So if you have any questions, please do ask them now. I am more than happy to answer and help anyone out. Thank you. And now I'll pass it to Lisa. Lisa, I think you're muted.
Thank you, Ranim. Does anyone have any questions? Please unmute yourself and ask away. So everybody's still thinking, I understand that. But Salim, I want to bring you in now. Salim Ahmed is our senior design coordinator at Tashkeel and is really next to you during your 10-week production period, making sure that you get everything right. Salim, if you had any advice to give people who would like to apply for this year's prize, what would be the, the top points from you?
Well, first of all, congratulations from 2016, Ranim, an amazing presentation, and I'm sure it was
Thank you.
A lot of hard work back then, and especially 3D printing wasn't sort of as prominent and as accessible as now. So yeah, very well done, well deserved win. And yeah, I think in terms of top tips, I think manufacturer, of course, is a huge side of this prize. And once you're selected as a winner, that's where sort of the real work really it starts off in terms of realizing your piece. And there's so many challenges that come along the way, and your skill set as a creator, as a designer, as a creative in general, that it helps a lot. And our role in Tashkeel as well is that we be along the way with you. We make sure that you are fully supported and you're getting all the information and the contacts that you need in terms of manufacturing and any sort of design consultations that are needed as well. And I would say when you're applying for this prize, I think one of the most sort of crucial tips that I would give away is that have the functionality in mind and how you plan to manufacture. You might not have everything obviously resolved during the submission, but that's okay. But I think having an idea of how things are kind of fitting together or going to come together, I think that's a huge plus. And this is what the judges are going to be looking for as well. If you have that sort of understanding of the functionality and how things are going to fit together. And also, I think another tip that would be is to look at different sources of manufacturing. So don't always rely on maybe the first manufacturer that you walk into and say, this is the one is going to do everything for me, because sometimes that doesn't work. So having sort of multiple streams of manufacturers, or even a network of manufacturer, and that is very, very helpful as well. And I think it will make life much easier for you in terms of production. And of course, here at Tashkeel, we have our manufacturing online directory, MakeWorks, that is very accessible. And we have our Tashkeel community as well that you'll be able to kind of ask, and you'll be able to do anything that you can really think of between everybody. And I think also as well, something to really keep in mind is working out costings. Sometimes we have very aspirational sort of proposals, that might end up costing way more than what the price allows. That's 30,000 production cost. So I think having a realistic understanding of cost, and maybe during your proposal time as well, and having a chat with one or two manufacturers and just kind of loosely talking to them, how much things might cost. So you'll have that, you'll have those ideas in mind, because I think this will be one of the criteria that the judges will be looking for as well, to kind of having a clear understanding of the cost. Because if you have a very beautiful and conceptually driven idea, and it's going to cost 300,000, not 30,000, then there might be an issue there, and it might need several prizes to kind of fund that. So I think just having an idea of cost is really, really important as well. Like I said, during the submission stage, it's not necessarily you have to work all of these things out, but having an understanding of how what direction you're going into, I think that's really, really important, and it increases your chances of sort of being up there with the top 10 or top 5 or first one, and in terms of selection. I think as well, I think asking as well when it comes to manufacturing, I think asking your friends for opinion as well, and making sure that you're being very cost effective when it comes to testing. Like Ranim, you touched about testing and prototyping in your presentation. That is a super, super crucial part, because you might end up with working with a manufacturer that does something for you. Then when it comes to installation, that is not very well tested, and things might go wrong, and that's not very good for you or anybody that is around the price. So I think these are my top tips. And yeah.
Fantastic, Salim. Thank you for those top tips. All right, let's go back and zoom in on the 2021 prize. Ranim, you're going to stick around until the end. We've just got another sort of 5-10 minutes to go. So any of you who've got some questions for Ranim, she'll be back shortly. For this year's prize, the key dates are, first of all, the 18th of June. Now, Ranim mentioned something very important. Back when she won, the prize submission process was in 2 stages. We have shortened it, and therefore you have 1 chance to impress us, I'm afraid. So we expect you to submit a proposal that hasn't been previously exhibited in public, hasn't been previously produced, but as Ranim says, is almost there. You are 90% sure that you are able to produce that work within a 10-week production period, whether that is in the United Arab Emirates, whether that is in Saudi or Oman or Kuwait or Qatar or Bahrain. Doesn't matter. You've got 10 weeks to make it, no more. We draw the line. After you've submitted your proposal, and Ranim made another very good point. She submitted 2 sheets. We don't need a thesis. We don't need 10,000 words. We want inspiration, imaginative, precise, clear, and professional. Imagine that Van Cleef Arpels is your client. So once you've submitted that proposal, we will spend 11 days checking your criteria, checking that you are eligible. And if your proposal is rigorous enough, it will be selected for the shortlist. And on the 29th of June this year, that will be your chance to be interviewed online using the power of Zoom as well, by our panel of judges, and you will basically take them through that proposal that you submitted and answering any questions or concerns they have about the validity and the functionality of your work. We plan to select a winner by the 1st of July, and that will give you a fairly lengthy production period running right up until the 16th of September. If you're based outside the United Arab Emirates, that work would then need to be shipped very quickly. It's not shipped, it's flown to the UAE, and where it will be photographed, and we will need to fly you in as well if you're the winner into Dubai for the public announcement and ultimately the 3-month exhibiting period at Les Salons Van Cleef Arpels in Dubai Opera in November. At the end of the exhibiting period in March 2022, feels like a lifetime away, but it's just around the corner, we will then hand back that work. That's correct. We give it back to you. Van Cleef Arpels doesn't take ownership of it. Tashkeel doesn't take ownership of it. We pay you to create that work, we exhibit it, and then we give it back to you. However, if we want to borrow it, you will let us. That's the deal at the end of the day. Salim, anything to add to the dates or the production period or anything?
Well, I think I was muted there. I think you've covered mostly all the key dates, and I think during this submission phase, I think it's quite important just to really give the concept, and the strength of the idea quite a lot of time and thought, because that's what really drives it. So the inspiration is really, really important at this first stage. And once you have a solid idea that will capture the judge's attention, I think then there's a good chance that you'll be able to build on what you've created, if the narrative, of course, is strong enough. And then I think also just think about the production phase, the production period of where you are in your country, and understand that there might be some challenges, and there'll be a shipping phase as well. So there's a few things to work out, but we'll get there when we get there.
It all comes together in the end.
Yes, it does.
All right, we'll tell you what we would like you to see, but here's some top tips of what not to do. Do not submit an incomplete proposal. You can download the submission form at tashkeel.org. You'll find the Van Cleef & Arpels Prize on the home page. Download that PDF and fill it in, and then attach your a lovely PDF with your renderings and any other information that you wish us to consider. Do not submit a design that is not your own. I know that that is obvious, but you'd be surprised. Surprisingly enough, for a global brand that is renowned for its jewelry and watches, Van Cleef & Arpels Prize is not about designing jewelry or watches. So please don't design any jewelry or watches. Design anything else functional that reflects the theme, but not those items. Don't present a design that has been previously exhibited or produced. We will find out. We do our detective work as well. So we want something that is wholly original and has never been seen before. Don't submit a design that you yourself know that you cannot produce in 10 weeks. It's just not worth the stress. Be confident that you can produce this in the 10-week period. Believe in yourself. We will, and we will help you all the way. Because of course, there's always unanticipated problems that arrive. But when you submit your proposal, be confident that you can deliver in that 10-week period. And I'm afraid that the Van Cleef & Arpels Prize comes with a lot of media interest, a lot of photography. You will be required to be filmed and interviewed, not only by Van Cleef & Arpels themselves, but also by many of the English and Arabic media that cover this prize every year. So we regret that if you do not want to be photographed, that is an issue, as we cannot celebrate your win. So don't apply if you don't want to be photographed. Yes, it's a sad old world. Now let's look at the positive. Do apply if you live in these countries. We regret that if you are from these countries, but you live outside these countries, for example, in Europe or the North America, I'm afraid you're not eligible. You have to be living and working in Saudi, UAE, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, or Qatar. We do not mind what nationality you are. You can hold any passport in the world, ladies and gentlemen, as long as you are living and working in any of those countries. Do apply if you have an original concept that has not been shown or produced before. Apply with a functional product, a chair, a light, a bed, a table, but it has to be functional and reflect the theme. We'll be moving on to that in a second. I've emphasized the 10-week production period, so I think you've got that. And submit a complete design, a complete proposal. That's one proposal per person, consisting of digital files, maquettes, renderings, sketches, a maximum of 5 images together with text that really clarifies the nature of your proposal. The narrative, as Salim mentioned earlier, the narrative is very, very strong. Bil-Arabi, bil-Inglesi, we do not mind. Just don't send us an application in Chinese, we won't understand that, but we welcome Arabic submissions, and we also welcome English language submissions as well. So, just to recap on the criteria, this is what the judges will be looking for. Inventiveness, I spelt that wrong, originality, strength of design concept, strength of functionality. If you're going to produce a chair, what is its load-bearing capacity? Will it endure? What are the materials? What are the techniques? What's the production approach? And really what the Van Cleef & Arpels is looking for themselves, here's a secret tip, is they're looking at how well you reproduce the theme. So what is the theme? Well, we've had nature, we've had growth, we've had turning point. this year we're getting technical. The universe is a wonderful thing when science and creativity collide, and it's not done more brilliantly in the practice of biomimicry, which takes on inspiration from the strategies found in nature to solve complex challenges within human design. So we're looking at something that emulates, mimics, is inspired by natural structures, be it insects, be it plants, but we want it to really speak to the butterfly family at the end of the day. So if you look online and you do a little bit of research, it is amazing what kind of designs have already been developed by the world's design practitioners using biomimicry and being inspired by butterflies. Their color, the way they are able to camouflage themselves, the structure of their wings, for example, everything that nature has given us in the design of butterflies can be reflected and mimicked, perhaps through a chair, through a light, through other forms of furniture and other functional products. That's what we are looking for. Here's a few more pieces, examples and inspiration. Planes inspired by birds and by fish. Lizards and other reptiles have inspired designs of cars and other vehicles. So the list is endless. The history of biomimicry is not just a thing that's been invented over the last few years. It really goes back decades to the birth of design, in fact. So really take inspiration from it. The theme is biomimicry and butterflies. Salim, anything to add to that? I know it can be quite difficult from a designer's point of view to try and interpret this very broad and very technologically sophisticated theme.
Yeah, I think it's quite important to. Well, I think one of the beauties of this prize is that it's very open to interpretation, and it's always amazing to kind of see how different brains engage with the theme. And I think one of the ways to maybe kind of think about this is not just maybe the physical quality of a butterfly, if you kind of focused on that, but it's also the journey of a butterfly, how it transitions from a caterpillar to being a beautiful butterfly. The patterns on the wings, they're usually used for either attracting mates or for defense systems. There's so many different angles that you'll be able to kind of tackle this theme. And that's kind of going back to that the idea of the narrative. So it's really in the narrative capturing the either the motion or the kind of the aesthetic or the function of a butterfly, how it uses its wings, and how that can be interpreted into a product, or maybe, like I said, the transition of its journey, of its lifetime, going from a worm into a fly. That's amazing. And kind of an in-depth research, and that would be fascinating to kind of read through and see how it can be interpreted. And of course, there's so many ways that biomimicry and natural systems adapt, and how maybe the butterfly adapts to these different environment from all over the world, and particularly our region here. Are there any indigenous butterflies that are living in the Gulf countries? I don't know. And that would be an interesting area of research, I think, to see. And yeah, but I think it's go as far and as wide as possible with and as imaginative as possible with the theme, and understanding the sort of qualities that that embodies a butterfly and a biomimicry system.
Fantastic, Salim. What inspirational ideas you're coming out with. Absolutely. From cocoon to beautiful butterfly. From a material point of view, a structural point of view, the opportunities are absolutely endless. Well, you've got until the 18th of June, ladies and gentlemen, to submit your proposal. We wish you the greatest of luck. This film video will be uploaded onto our YouTube site at Tashkeel, so you'll be able to revisit it whenever you want. Hopefully Salim's fantastic words there will be a source of inspiration for you. And you can download the application form from www.tashkeel.org. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and see if anybody would like to ask any more questions, or have we answered every comment and thought that you have?
I had a question. Can I ask?
Yes, please.
Sure.
I wanted to ask, does it have to be like a product, or can it be like a garment as well?
It has to be a functional product, yes.
So can it be like a dress?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay.
Sorry. But you could take that material and maybe upholster something, or create a functional, sculptural, decorative object with it. Salim, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's if you're talking about wearables, biosystems and wearables, I think that's an interesting area of application there. So, if you're talking about maybe a dress, it's got to have a certain. It can't be just a dress. That's the short answer is, but it's got to have a certain oomph behind it. It's got to do something as a dress that that embodies the function. So it's a wearable is an interesting area, but it's also quite a hard area to crack.
Can you do something wearable, or should I stay away from it?
I would advise to maybe, if it's very well developed, maybe. But if it's kind of at early stages, maybe I would not apply it for this prize for this year.
Okay.
If you have a look at the previous year's winners, we've had a table, we've had a light, we've had multifunctional furniture. We have had submissions of sort of room dividers, shaders, but everything is of a three-dimensional furniture, furnishings, functionality. So I think I don't think the judges or Van Cleef & Arpels is open to considering fashion design. Okay. Oh. Sorry about that, but maybe you're halfway there with your idea. You just need to.
Oh, I was going to say, in terms of, if you're thinking about wearables, they're very, very close in terms of functionality and use to something like, being a light piece. And that's something that would be closer, fitted for the price. So, you can adapt to what you have already to kind of, adapt the function of it to be kind of more acceptable to the theme.
Okay.
All right.
Like something like a clutch bag or something is still fine. Like a bag is still okay.
No, that's not a functional item. I would say a bag is probably further away from a dress.
May I ask a question? I just wanted to find out. I think I heard Ranim say that the product has to be 90% finished this time around. Did I mishear that?
The proposal.
Ah, the proposal. Okay. Okay. So not that it's being made 90% manufactured.
Sorry, maybe I can answer this. So basically what I was trying to say is for this year's competition, your proposal has to have like a proper direction. Like if you're designing, let's say a table, you have to say like, I'm designing a table and it's going to look like this in a render, in a like a maquette or anything, but you know what you're designing. But in my case, in 2016, that was not necessary. So I just submitted saying I want to create a light that is inspired by jellyfish, but I didn't have the design, but I had the idea. But for this year's competition, you have to know what the product is and how it looks like. You don't have to manufacture it, but you should know how it's gonna be made or how it's gonna look like. I don't know if that explains it.
Yes, that answers my question. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well said, Ranim. I think previously, in previous years, there was rounds. So there would have been a first selection round and a second selection round. Then there would have been a winner. But the prize has a sort of a new format as of 3-4 years ago now. And the format is that there is a shortlisting and there is a winner selected from those shortlisting. So yeah, so the proposal have to be of a solid proposal of what the object that is being proposed is, rather than an idea.
Thank you, Salim. May I ask a question?
Oh,
yes, please.
Regarding the theme, so it's biomimicry focused on butterflies,
Correct.
and not biomimicry or butterflies.
No, it's biomimicry focused on butterflies.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Muhammad, yes.
One little tip, going back to the proposal, over the last couple of years, I've seen some phenomenal proposals and some beautiful renderings, digital artworks in themselves, I have to say. And it is clear that many of the designers have an incredible imagination who apply, and are able to communicate their vision through rendering. But stop and think, are those renders achievable? A lot of applications that we decline and we don't proceed to shortlist is because we know they are not smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and targeted. So we are looking for phenomenal proposals with great renderings, go for it. But if we don't think that that will be achieved within a 10-week production period, we will not have the confidence to select you for the shortlist. So really show to us, it's not just about pretty pictures, it's the narrative that Salim mentioned earlier, to give us the confidence that you are up to the task of producing within 10 weeks.
so I just have a question to complete on that. So from my understanding that you're looking for more of a didactic interpretation rather than an abstract interpretation, is that correct?
I wouldn't say didactic, I would say realistic, achievable within that period. It can be, the narrative can be abstract, your initial sketches can be abstract, but we do want to see some developed drawings beyond that, so that we have the confidence that by September, you will be able to deliver us a functional product befitting the proposal you suggested.
Perfectly. So my understanding is that it doesn't have to look like a butterfly, correct?
No, not literal. It doesn't have to be literal.
Please.
No.
Please don't go literal.
that was my concern. Yeah, exactly.
No. It's like I said, that there's no, how can I put this? Don't go literal. It's about the cleverness of the idea and how you interpret the theme. This is what this prize is really embodying all these years, and that's the common thing actually since the prize inception, is that we're looking for that really kind of the twist, the clever interpretation, the non-linear interpretation of the theme.
Yes.
So and that kind of really demonstrate the thought and the creative process that the winner would have gone through. So not literal.
I mean, Ranim, the theme for your year was nature, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's very broad.
It was very vague and very broad, yeah.
But that's as challenging often as the specific theme of biomimicry-butterflies, isn't it? It's so broad, you don't know where to start when it comes to nature.
Because literally you can be inspired by the sea, by the sky, by animals, by creatures, anything could be an inspiration, which makes life very hard, honestly.
It takes you down a black hole, it really does.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about the production?
Fire away.
Yes.
So could it be at a separate facility that I would work with, or does it have to be entirely handmade?
No, you can manufacture away wherever you like. Salim, go for it. Manufacture
the most efficient way, the most the best of quality way that you can think of, if that's, you know, and may I ask where you're calling from? Are you based in the UAE?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so if you're in the UAE, you know, then you would probably want to, you know, locally produce it, so you'll be able to kind of oversee the production more closely. But equally, you know, if you're able to, if you can, preferably if you can produce it, you know, in the country, that would be great. But if, you know, like if it needs to be produced outside, that's also acceptable.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. It's 8 o'clock, 2 minutes past 8. I really thank you so much for joining us. I really look forward to receiving your proposals, Salim as well. So if you've got any further questions, you can use the email address in the application form that you can download from tashkeel.org. But hopefully today's session has given you some inspiration. Very good luck, and we look forward to receiving your proposals.